Hello there. Whether it's trying to navigate a mountain bike on a rocky outcrop that's falling to pieces underneath you, or working out whether or not resistance is truly futile against the Borg, or even what happens when the anthropomorphic personification of death gets a human apprentice, well, this whole episode seems to focus around the idea of order and chaos, and what happens when the two of them meet. Coming up on this week's episode of the Data Vault Radio Show. Welcome to episode 2 of the Data Vault Radio Show. In this week's episode, I'm going to be sitting down and having a chat to Julien Redmond. He is CEO of Ignition out of Australia. They do a whole bunch of work around Data Vault, and they're primary sponsors for the Data Vault Innovators community, which is now popping up on screen, and you can link to it in our bio as well if you want to go in and have a look around. It's a community there for people to be able to connect with other people in the data management industry. And Julien's taken a really strong lead in helping us create content and get the word out about it. But more than that, Julien's a great big sci-fi fan, much like myself. So I really enjoyed having a chance to sit down and learn a little bit more about him and the things that make him tick, and the challenge he set himself for his upcoming, he says 50th, but I don't buy it just by looking at him, but 50th birthday. But all of that is coming up after the news. Google is making waves in the generative AI arena with two groundbreaking developments poised to transform the creative industry. First up, Google is fine-tuning its investment in artificial intelligence to revolutionize music creation. With new Gen AI tools, musicians and producers can look forward to harnessing AI from crafting of songs, melodies, and tunes. Simultaneously, Google has unveiled ImageFX, an AI-powered tool designed for image generation. Developed by Google's DeepMind team, ImageFX is underpinned by Imagen 2, a generative AI model that aims to deliver high-quality photorealistic images. And there are a few key differentiators between this and what's on the market already. Firstly, other image generation tools that rely solely on text prompts, ImageFX introduces an expressive chip. These are essentially keyword suggestions that allow users to explore adjacent dimensions of their creations and ideas, facilitating a more interactive and experimental approach to image generation. Another which addresses concerns around the authenticity of AI-generated images and to mitigate the potential for misuse. ImageFX images are tagged with something called Synth ID. It's a digital watermark. This watermark is designed to be imperceptible to the human eye, but detectable in searches, helping to clarify when images are AI-generated, particularly when they appear in Google Search or Chrome. Finally, Google has implemented a significant investment into training data safety for ImageFX, incorporating technical safeguards that limit problematic outputs. This includes measures to avoid generating violent, offensive, or sexually explicit content, and applying filters to reduce the risk of generating images of named individuals. According to Google, the GPT has extensive adversarial testing and red teaming to identify and mitigate the potential for harmful content generation. These particular advancements promise to unleash a new level of creativity, while also challenging us to think critically about the implications of AI in the creative sector. Across the spectrum of applications for generative AI, the development of responsible guidelines and ethical frameworks will be crucial in ensuring that the use of AI serving the enhancement of humanity's creativity will not undermine it at the same time. In international regulatory news, the World Health Organization have released new guidelines on the ethics and governance of large multimodal models in AI, releasing over 40 recommendations for governments, tech companies, and healthcare providers. This guidance aims to ensure LMM's proper use to protect and promote public health. It addresses the potential of LMMs to improve healthcare while highlighting the risks of bias, inaccuracy, and cybersecurity threats. Recommendations include engaging stakeholders in AI development, ensuring LMMs perform reliably in healthcare tasks, and conducting mandatory post-release audits. You can check out the link in the description for more detail on this announcement, should you be interested in the application of AI in the public healthcare sphere. One of the trends we're seeing take the stage in 2024 are multimodal AI models. These are a type of artificial intelligence that can process and understand multiple types of data inputs, such as text, images, and audio. They then go on to generate or predict outcomes using these inputs. The big breakthrough with generative pre-training transformers, such as DALL-E or Adobe's Firefly, where the model or neural network is trained by turning images into text and then learning to progressively produce meaningful images from strings of text. Those unimodal models in use of single type of data, where multimodal models, on the other hand, can integrate information from various sources, allowing for more comprehensive contextual understanding and better outputs. This capability enables them to perform complex tasks that mimic human communication and cognitive abilities even more closely, making them particularly useful in applications requiring nuanced interpretation of diverse data types. Multimodal models are something to consider as you explore using LLMs in enterprise. If you want more to say about how this is all going to work and what's going on within your industry, then have a look at a post that we've put up on the Data Vault Innovators community looking at the top trends for AI in 2024. It'd be great to get your feedback on that one. Well, that's it for the news this week. Coming up next, I'm sitting down and chatting with Julien Redmond, CEO of Ignition out of Australia. He's a man who's passionate about a number of things, whether that's science fiction, a few extreme sports, or making sure that your data quality is up to spec. So let's see what Julien has to say. So I guess the first question then is, what's the big thing you want people to know about Ignition?
Wow. Ignition, I think most people know, is part of Certus, has grown out of Certus and is the data management team or practice within the Certus organisation. And we rebranded it really because it has a very different focus to the other parts of Certus that are very focused on the asset-intensive industries. And Ignition is a data management purist sort of organisation, and I think everyone knows we're heavily aligned to Data Vault as well. So we provide training and certification, but we do a lot of professional services. We do data maturity assessments and data vault reviews and data quality management, and we have a new approach to lakehouses called Launchpad, which helps people get started very quickly and easily, and you can scale from a single use case up to essentially an enterprise platform without ever having to re-engineer anything. So it's kind of a no-regret thing. So we do a lot of consulting around data management. And then maybe most of this audience know we've been developing the Iris platform as well. So Ignition owns Iris and has been developing Iris, and it's I guess our version of Data Vault automation. We're trying to bring all of the best practices that we use when we help people to build a Data Vault and put that into a tool. And actually, most of the work's probably been in trying to simplify the process and make it as easy to follow as possible, so that those that are new to Data Vault can do the certification and then get it right, and and have a set of standards and processes to follow that blended in with a tool that makes it easier to do. So, which is nice, and there's some new packaging coming for that. Which is where a lot of my focus is, and we're just about to bring it to the rest of the world. So that's exciting.
It is exciting. How long have you been working on it?
I mean, Iris has been in development for quite a while and through a few different iterations, and I think we've learned a lot as we went along. It actually started as a Data Vault as a service sort of product. It was more a managed service than a tool. And it evolved out of that into kind of a packaged platform. And now its third iteration is actually as essentially a tool that helps data engineers to do it fast and do it right. So, the new version has been in development for about 18 months, I guess, 12 to 18 months. But the platform, I guess, as a concept, has been around for about 4 years.
Okay. So how did you get into the world of data management?
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting story. So I did applied chemistry at uni, and
Oh.
then I worked in hotels for about 8 years in sales and marketing. So I never used my chemistry at all.
Hmm.
And and then I moved to an organisation that was an IBM business partner doing mainframes and like I-series or AS400s in the old language for those people that remember that sort of stuff. And and then at through a number of acquisitions, I found myself in an organisation where there was a really great data management guy, and together we decided we're going to start a data management practice. And that was a bumpy road, but actually from that led to me moving to a company called Focus, which Certus acquired about 12 years ago, and so. Um, Focus was a Cognos and data stage partner for heavy into the IBM tools, and Certus acquired Focus for that reason, and I was a sales resource, I guess, focusing purely on data management, not on the BI side. We had the BI team and a data management team, and I'm still there. and,
Haven't
and
got sick of it yet.
Well, I think I've just got I'm really interested in data management. I see
Mhm.
all the aspects of how it affects different businesses and different things you do in your life. It was amazing through COVID, everyone talking about analytics. What are the numbers for this and what's the trend and so my my particular skill, I think, is actually just trying to make data management principles relatable to non-technical users, because I kind of straddle the fence. I'm a little bit more technical than your average person, but I'm not as technical as our actual delivery resources, and they put me to shame. But there's some very smart people, and they've taught me a lot. So I'm riding on the shoulders of giants.
So this makes me very curious because I know that your wife works in the creative sector. You work in the
Yeah.
data management sector. One is obviously very analytical in its nature, and the other is a little bit more free form. How do
Yes.
you guys sort of make that work? Does that work, or is it sort of opposites working
Yeah.
together with each other really well? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it makes for some good arguments sometimes.
Sure.
It's. I mean, yeah. She also, she's done her time in accounts as well in that
Mhm.
space, so she understands process. So we have some good conversations. I think actually, she would make an excellent data steward because she's a very detail orientated person, and so I noticed that in her. But obviously, she works, with arts departments and costume, and
Mm.
but she really manages the logistics for them, when they're producing some of those feature films and what have you. So we have our bits where we overlap, and our unique, but you don't want to have a partner who's an identical copy of yourself, do you? That wouldn't
No,
be very
that'd be boring and
exactly.
very narcissistic. Just not worth the trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Just buy a mirror. Yeah.
Oh, much cheaper that way, true. Very cheap that way. Um, Tell me about sports. What do you do to relax? Do you have a sports team that you follow? How do you unwind?
Yeah, I'm one of those crazy guys that's about to turn 50 this year and is still acting like he's 19. So I ride mountain bikes quite a lot, uh, and probably too much. But yeah,
Is there such a thing as too much?
oh, maybe not for me. I've been racing them
Oh,
for about 20 odd years now,
mhm.
and yeah, I find it a great way to switch my brain off. You can't think about work or other life issues when you're hurtling down a forest trail, rocky, and there's trees and what have you. And so yeah, I do that quite a bit, and it's a great outlet, and it's really an interesting sport in that it brings together a social group from all different walks of life. And so a lot of my friends, they're tradies, or they work in retail, or they work in health, or so it's a really good network. Makes it very easy when I need to find a plumber or an electrician. I've got friends who do that stuff, so that's handy. But yeah, it's a great it's one of the most social sports, I guess, in that it brings that group together, and you're always riding with someone, and there's always plenty of time to chat and what have you. So I like that, and yeah, growing up, I played AFL, And so for those that are watching who don't come from Victoria or Australia, that's
Mhm.
Australian rules football. I played that for 12 years, and you should go Google it because it's a pretty crazy sport. It's
It's a
commonly
weird one to watch.
yeah, they call it aerial ping pong when people
Hmm.
are trying to be derogative of it. But it's an amazing sport for for team and hand-eye coordination and fitness and all those things. So I played for 12 years growing up, and that gave me kind of a real love for being active. So I surf and I have a motorbike and I have mountain bikes and I'll pretty much give anything a go. So I'm average at a lot of things, but not great at anything. But there you go.
But that's more fun that way. You get to explore more and do different things that way instead of having to focus on something.
Correct. Well, and I have signed up for the Masters World Championships for mountain biking in Cairns in May. So that will be
Okay.
the first time that I've ever done a World Championships of anything, but I'm in the 50 to 55 category. So we'll see how I go. Could come
Why
last.
not?
Yeah.
That's
Gotta,
awesome though. Like that's a really fun challenge to set yourself up for.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
You
there you
don't
go.
sound convinced.
Well, no, look, it's going to be a bit of training, and and it'll be
Mhm.
an interesting event, and it'll be great fun. As we're going to have a good, like I think I'll be up there for 5 days, and but yeah, it's also an intimidating thing to go and do. So
Well,
nervous and
Cairns
excited.
is. Oh, I don't blame you for that. Cairns is hot though. Like I don't think people realize how hot it can get up there.
Well, yeah, but it's in May, so it'll winter
Okay.
temperatures up there are probably 26, 27 Celsius, so in
So
the
summer
80s.
temperatures for New Zealand are winter temperatures there.
Correct. Yeah. So really, really
Cool.
pleasant temperature, and I'm racing the
Mhm.
downhill, so I don't have to pedal
Oh,
too much. I just gotta be brave.
you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You've nailed all the other tracks. You'll be absolutely fine with this one. So
Yeah.
in terms of relaxing, obviously doing a lot of physical stuff and those kind of things. Do you ever get a chance to sit down and read?
Yeah. I love
Just
reading. I don't read as much as I should, um, but I do. Over Christmas, I read The Martian again because I love that book,
oh yes.
and Project Hail Mary, which are both from Andy
Hmm.
Weir. Really good sci-fi stuff. So I read two books over the Christmas break, but yeah, I don't read as much as I should.
Paper or digital?
Digital, definitely digital.
What was the last paper book you read?
The last paper book I read. Um, oh, goodness me. I, oh no, I remember. It was a Terry Pratchett book. That was on holidays
Oh,
couple of years ago, and I read
which one?
Mort.
Ah, classic, absolute
Yeah,
classic. I have the full Pratchett collection here. It
perfect.
is he's my favorite author.
Yeah,
My ex-wife, when our son was, I think it was his first birthday, or he was just about to turn one. It was on our wedding anniversary. He came to the town that I was in. Only time
yeah,
he ever came there to do a signing, and she's sitting there going, "Look, I totally get it. This is the one wedding anniversary that I'm going to let you forget about everything else and just go get the autograph done." And so,
that's
so
cool.
that book. It was The Truth. It was that book. And so yeah,
Yeah,
nice little inscription on there. Very, very proud of that. It stays away from everybody. But it's
yeah,
love
yeah.
practice work.
No fingers. Yeah,
Classic.
perfect. Oh, that's good. Yeah,
So
that was the last physical one for sure.
okay. Good book to read as well. For people who haven't come across it before, they should go out and do some digging on it.
Yeah.
What then is your favorite sci-fi show or movie?
Oh, well, Martian probably for sure. Although I did read that they're recording Project Hail Mary. Or they're going to be producing it
Oh, okay.
this year, I think. And yeah, so they've signed up some big names for that. So I'm looking forward to that. But the original Star Wars, obviously, all the
Yeah.
yeah. But I like the practical aspect of the Martian. Like I like that it's apart from the big gimme of the winds on Mars don't get that strong, but apart from that, it's a practical look at that sort of stuff, and so I like that. Love Apollo 13. Like that was
Hmm.
a great movie. So I like the stuff that's a little bit more grounded in what we could achieve rather than you know everything driven by faster than light travel or time travel or something. But then, Back to the Future as well. You can't go past that. It's a classic. So
Oh, Back to the Future is a classic.
yeah, yeah.
Absolute classic. It's a
And I did watch.
brilliant film.
I watched the Michael J. Fox documentary Still the other day. So what an amazing guy. So that's pretty cool.
He's so inspirational. The fact that he uses what's happened to him to inspire others and help others, I think, is
Yeah,
it's the sort of thing we should all be kind of trying to do.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Tell me about pet peeves. What is something that really annoys you?
I really don't like people being late. I hate being late myself.
Yep.
And I'm
Yep.
always early. I like to log into things early. I like to be somewhere early. And I think if my parents watch this, they'll probably kick me. But I think probably because we're always late at stuff as kids. I was always late to football training, or I was late to a party, or late to school. So it's one of those things. Now I'm like an adult. I'm the exact opposite, and just have a really So, I think that, and I like. Well, I dislike people being inconsiderate of others. So, I think there's place for us all to speak. So I'm pretty much of an advocate for that. So, I think they're the main things. Obviously, uh, some of the aggression that's happening around the world and those sorts of things. Be pretty peeved about that right now as well. Things are So
Yeah.
I think that stuff is probably the stuff that aggravates me the most. And then being a bit of a science nerd as well, I certainly dislike a lot of the pseudoscience stuff we see on social media and stuff. That stuff frustrates me as well.
I know that feeling so well. It's horrible.
Yeah.
How do you find any of those sort of little annoyances impact the work that you do at the moment with data management? Like, is there sort of an element of it that pulls through that you get really frustrated seeing people make the same mistakes over, or just irritates you when it happens?
Like we talk about data integrity, and I think things like the being on time, or showing respect to people, or even just promoting products that are actually real, rather than, it's all about integrity. There's the integrity of the individual or the company, and we talk about data integrity a lot. And I think a lot of those things are actually based on that, about understanding, how we make evidence-based decisions, and so data management feeds into that. Like, if a company really wants to make the right decisions, they should be evidence-based, and it's not evidence-based if you haven't dealt with data quality and data integrity, and you actually really understand what you're making the decision of. So I bring that interest to the examples that I talk about when I talk to customers, is, or an organization that's trying to do, solve some data management problem, is like, how do we solve the fundamentals, the basis of how you're managing your information, so that when it gets to the particular use case you're trying to solve, that you can rely on the evidence and the people and the information.
Perfect. That's all my questions.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said, hopefully that was an answer to a question.
It's a perfect answer. It's the perfect place for us to finish this. It has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, Jules. Good luck with the Masters. You'll nail it. You'll be fine. You had lots of practice, but good luck anyway.
Thanks, Paul.
You'll be fine. To tinker with the fate of even one individual could destroy the whole world. Do you understand? Hey, look, I want to thank Jules for joining me to sit down and have a chat. I always enjoy the conversations I have with him, and I think it's because we both share a real passion for science fiction. In fact, when I met Kate Mulgrew last year, who's Captain Catherine Janeway from Star Trek Voyager, picture up in the background with her autograph there, he was one of the first people I told, because I knew he would be so amped about somebody like that, sitting down and having a bit of a chat with somebody like me. So it was brilliant fun to catch up with him. One of the things that came through in that conversation for me, though, was around data quality versus data remediation. Bringing order to chaos, as it were. And it reminded me of the thing that we did a couple of years ago, where Julien actually led the conversation with James Hartwright and Richard Harris, where they looked at the difference between the two and how you sort of put one against the other and make the best outcome using both of them. Here's that short clip from that piece a couple of years ago, because I find it fascinating to see how that sort of conversation then links into what we're talking about today.
So there's two aspects to it. Lots of people, when they talk about data quality, they're talking about how do I fix my data. And so it's really about what remediation efforts can they do. And there's lots of different things you can do. So you could do things, at the application end by having, predetermined fields that they select from, or you can wash data against address data sets to clean up address data, or a range of different things that can be done. But often the problem is actually finding out where all your data quality issues actually are, quantifying them and prioritizing which ones to fix. Really the big challenge is that at 100% data quality is a nirvana that no one can attain and maintain. So it's really about where do you apply the effort. And so that's where data quality management really sits, is really in determining what problems have a big enough impact that you should actually pay attention and do some of those remediation efforts.
Yeah, I totally agree. The identification of those critical attributes, critical business processes, critical elements. Otherwise, an organization will just walk in and boil the ocean and just try and do everything, and then everybody gets downbeat on why we're not improving. The other thing I think in the data quality management side is, we can talk about the technology we apply, but we've got to bring the people and the methods along. So it has to come embedded with the culture in why good data quality is a thing that we should strive for. And then the other is data quality management is continuous. I hit a data quality thing about 5 years ago. And what we saw was data wasn't getting input into a survey of high quality. It was non-mandatory, so people weren't filling it in. The resolution was, well, let's make them put the full date of birth in. And we went, okay, that problem's gone away now. It's mandatory. They've got to put the date of birth in. Came back 3 months later and looked, and everybody had a year of birth of, at that time, 2014. So everybody was born on the first item on the drop-down list. So your data quality management process needs to understand and continue to look at the new things that you've put on. Because if the process isn't embedding correctly, you might as well just not have done it.
And I think the only thing I would really add to there is that data quality management is driven really through trust, making sure that ultimately you want good quality data because you want to utilize it in your organization, whether it be communication to your client and making sure names and addresses and so forth are correct and maintained, but also all the other data that's being used. You've got to make sure that people trust it. Otherwise, they're not going to use the insights that are derived from it. So I think, before you think about remediation, it always tracks back to what data is being used, what level and degree of trust do I need to have, and do I have in that? It's kind of a chicken and the egg situation, right?
And that's a wrap on episode 2 of the Data Vault Radio Show. Thank you very much for joining me, and I want to thank Julien Redmond again from Ignition for sitting down and having a chat with me. Usually when we're working together, he's the one asking the questions. This time, we sort of flipped the script a little bit. It's always fun to keep people on their toes like that. Don't forget, you can join the conversation over at the Data Vault Innovators community at any time. The website's up on the screen at the moment, and it's linked in the bio. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or rate this video or podcast, depending on how you're interacting with it. It's the best way that we can teach algorithms that, they listen to us. Don't let them tell you otherwise. But also it lets other people know what's going on, and it helps share the word a little bit, and hopefully helps us connect with other data management experts around the world. So until next time, have yourself a great day. May the force be with you.